Prosecutor is beginning to hold his news conference regarding the shooting of Cincinnati police officer Sonny Kim. Let's listen in.
And Chief Isaac for the extensive review of evidence that they conducted. And every day, Chief, I have to tell you, I am impressed by your department and what you guys do every day, men and women of your department. I'll cut to, I think you have the press release now. There will be no more charges filed in this matter. The killer is dead, obviously. Had he not died, he would be facing the death penalty for the murder of Sonny Kim. Let me talk about the video for a second. It's my understanding that and just to be clear on a legal basis, the reason I feel comfortable releasing this video at this time is because the investigation is complete, consistent with the release of the Tenzing video earlier this year. That investigation was complete, an indictment was returned, and we felt at that point it became a public record. In this case, because the investigation is complete, similarly, we believe that it is a public record now. It's my understanding that some members of the media are broadcasting live today. Therefore, we have two separate videos, so you understand. One is the raw video, which we intended to play for you, but because there's live broadcast going on, we're not going to play it for you. You will be given a copy of that, but I'm not going to show it on live TV. The second is a shortened version of the live video. It's very short, and quite frankly, the most relevant part of the tape, but it clouds out and pixelates Sonny Kim's body so you can't see him laying on the ground. And if you have any questions before we show this short tape, I'm happy to answer it. But I would also like to add, and quite frankly, I believe most people in this room and your editors and people who make these decisions would not show the raw tape. My concern has not been you all in this room. My concern has always been a blogger or somebody like that who puts it on YouTube. Sonny was, and the Chief and I were talking about this before, Sonny was everything Hummons was not. He was a loving father, a loving husband. He dedicated his life to this city, and ultimately he paid the ultimate price to protect us. And the video of his body lying on the ground, I just am not going to play this on live TV. If you guys choose to do that, I think it would be a shame, but I believe it's a public record, and because the investigation is over, we will distribute those at the end. Any preliminary questions?
Joe, do we have any reason, any cause behind the shooting, Trey-Pierre's motives?
The night before, he was accused by his girlfriend, and she actually signed a complaint for rape. And he came back to his mother's house and was very distraught about it. He didn't want to be, this is according to his mother, so you can take it for what it's worth. He did not want to be known as a registered sex offender his whole life. And the next morning, she reported that he was acting strange, told her, everything's going to be all right today, Mom. And she went out to walk the dog. She ran into him on the street, and he had alcohol with him, and his autopsy revealed he was under the influence of alcohol and Valium at the time of this incident, Valium-like substance. And I think everyone can have different opinions on what the motivation was. I believe the motivation was his goal was to lure and kill as many police officers as he could. And if not for the actions of Specialist Tom Sandman, there could have been a lot more dead police officers. He deserves a medal. And he just decided, I don't think he cared if he got killed. But this is not suicide by cop. This just isn't. Suicide by cop is when you confront the cops with a weapon, you don't shoot them, number one. You're trying to be shot yourself. And that was not his goal. He shot Officer Kim. When they arrive at the scene, and I need to tell you this too, Sonny's dash cam was not on, okay? So all we have is Officer Salmon's dash cam when he arrives at the scene. The murder of Sonny Kim has already transpired, and the only thing is that you would see would be Sonny lying on the ground. When Sonny arrived on the scene, we believe the facts are that the mother came towards him because Sonny got out of the car and pulled his taser. And she said, he's not armed, I'll talk to him. And she's got her back to Hummons, her son. And she doesn't realize he's armed. And he reaches into his back waistband where he had the gun, goes around Mom, and shoots Sonny. Sonny was shot 3 times through both arms. One, we think it was a ricochet when he was on the ground. And just the tragic bad luck of the shot that passed into his left side, and between the, it was described to us today, this morning, like a deck of cards, like a webbing, so that the vest can expand. And if had it hit one of the ribs of that vest, it would have stopped it. But it went between two of the ribs and passed into Sonny's left side and moved to the right, and ultimately hit his artery there, pulmonary artery, and it was non-survivable.
He didn't shoot at all.
He did not.
And did Trey Pierre then pick up his gun?
He
shoot
did.
Sandman?
He did. Officer Salmon was shot at by Hummons with Sonny's gun.
Did Officer Kim draw his gun?
No.
Okay,
I think he might have, was trying to at least. He had a taser initially when this happened, and he's walking up behind his mom and just goes around his mom, and the investigators think that the first shot was the fatal one.
Did he have his taser because the mom had said she didn't think her son was armed?
No, I think he just got out to deal with that. I think he just got out to deal with the unruly person or the guy with a gun.
Joe, how soon from the time when Officer Kim was shot did Sandman arrive? And
Pretty rapidly. I mean, we have a timeline for you that we'll distribute, but it happened very rapidly.
How many shots did Officer Salmon or Specialist Salmon fire at Trey Pierre?
I think he fired 16, 17 shots.
How many made contact?
2. 1 mass center. I think the other one was in the shoulder. Oh, I'm sorry, it was on the side back here. What happened was he went down to the first shot, and the gun fell, and he was crawling after the gun, and he got shot the second time.
Did he sort of follow Sandman around the car?
Yeah, Officer Salmon got out of the car, and you'll see even on the shortened version, you'll see Hummons coming at him with the gun, and Officer Salmon gets out of his car. A bullet actually went through the driver's side window as he exited the car. And as he was trained to do, and I should stress, everyone in this situation did exactly as they were trained to do. He proceeded behind the car, getting away from Hummons, and that gunfight occurred right there.
Was Hummons' initial weapon registered? Was it his? What do you know about the gun?
No, it wasn't his. He got it from an ex-girlfriend or something, it's typical nonsense.
So all the officers that responded, Officer Kim, Officer Sandman, they all followed policy?
Absolutely.
And so there is no need for any sort of policy change whatsoever in responding to?
No, I would give Officer Salmon an award. I mean, he saved other people.
Any lessons learned here, Joe?
I'm just shocked that I just grew up in a different environment where you could have the evil about you to call 911 and ambush a police officer. I can't get my mind around that.
Joe, would you give us a sense of the probation officer and where that officer was and his role, if any?
During the walk with the mom, when she ran into her son, she approached the probation officer and said her son was acting weird. Would you talk to him? So they actually talked. And Hummons said to the probation officer, "Hey, you do a good job." And probation officer was not in uniform, obviously. And shook his hand and walked off. And the probation officer kind of hung around, and you'll be able to see him. Jenny, you can stop this, right? It's a short one, but you can stop it or not.
It stopped with him walking off. With Mr. Hummons walking off the screen.
Can you see the PO?
No, I don't think you can. I think he's still inside his car at that point.
When the after the shots were fired at Sonny, the probation officer was behind a car. Probation officers are not police officers, and they apparently are trained to take cover, and that's what he did.
So to Trey Pierre, he wasn't a good enough get. His goal was to kill.
Right. I think he wanted to kill uniformed officers. Okay.
Did the dust fail, Joe?
No. No, it's just a horrible piece of luck. I mean, horrible.
Inch or two away is all we're talking about?
Centimeters. I mean, there's like it was described to us today as like a deck of cards, okay? Ribbed like that. And the bullet slipped through two of the ribs.
Any odds of that happening, or any
They're
idea?
like astronomical. I mean, it's a fluke. But nonetheless, he intentionally shot at Sonny Kim. Okay, he could have hit him in the face. It's an unspeakable tragedy, not just for the community, but members of my staff last week met with them and members of the chief's department to make sure they knew this was coming, because I didn't want Officer Kim has a lovely family. I think many of you saw them, and they're just the sweetest people. I got the opportunity to speak with his widow a few days afterwards, and she thanked me for not releasing the video. And I told her, when the investigation is complete, you know, this is going to have to come out. And she just appreciated it didn't come out right away.
Knowing that, I mean, really, there's no precedent set by the Supreme Court on really video releasing. Would you like to see a precedent set?
Yes. I don't know if you read our pleading. You know, in the Tenzing case, after the investigation was complete, we released that video. And it's a technique in investigations. I mean, when you have people talking, different witnesses, I really don't want to show them what we have until they give us their statement. And I don't want them to couch their testimony around a video that we've released. So there is no precedent, and in our pleading, because we gave the Tenzing video over, it's a moot issue, obviously. You guys all have it. But I went further in the Supreme Court pleading and say, hey, this is a moot issue, but we would really like you to rule on this, because this isn't going to stop. This is going to go on and on and on. I mean, I know CPD is getting ready to deal with body cams in the sheriff's office, and we need to develop a protocol, but we need direction either from the legislature or the court to tell us the parameters by which we can keep this as an investigative tool. That's very important. And look, this took 5 months. If you saw the work that CPD did in the shooting book, it's about this thick. And they interview everybody, they're transcribed, they go through everything on this. We act very rapidly. It's not like a year and a half like what happened in Chicago. That's not the way we operate. We do it as fast as we can and get it out as fast as we can.
On the flip side, maybe there's the argument too that 911 tapes will come out within a day or immediately.
You guys can ask Communications or CPD; they can provide this for you. Those are the public record, no matter what.
So you see the video as a different type of
yes.
Public document.
Yes, I don't see the video as a public document until the investigation's done.
Why would the video be different than 911?
911 is civilians talking to a civilian. Okay. Dash cams, body cams are on the police, law enforcement, turned over to us in an incident. So it's law enforcement, it's internal. That's why. That's the difference.
So if I was standing on the street corner at the time Sonny Kim was shot and I had cell phone video,
right,
that would be different.
Yes.
Be public
yeah.
realm.
Yep. You see those all the time.
Chief, you want to talk to the Chief?
Sure, Chief, go ahead.
Any statement you want to make, Chief?
Just want to take this time to thank Mr. Dieters and the prosecutor's office for their work on this. A very difficult time for all of us, many of us, myself included, knew and worked with Sonny. An all-around tragedy. I understand that, this is the time that we have to release the video so that you all are able to do your job as well. I also echo just the consideration for the family and what they have to go through as well. So I'll try to answer any questions if you have.
Of course, there could be a 911 call right now with a man with a gun. As you look at this, Joe has said that all the responding officers acted according to policy. Is that your feeling as well from what you know about this case? And is there a need for any sort of policy alteration whatsoever in responding to a 911 call for a gun?
Not on the part of CPD. Our officers acted within policy and responded to the call that they received. So no change in policy regarding that.
How's Officer Hammond doing? And what is his job status right now?
He's back at work. Obviously, this was a friend, a co-worker. Any type of incident like this will obviously impact you, but he's back to work, doing his job and performing in a professional, excellent way.
Chief, their ambushes of police officers have increased across the country. For us, this is a unique experience, but this is what's going on. Does it change anything in the police department, or are they already trained to look over their shoulder and be prepared for Trey Pierre Hummins?
We have the best trained officers in the country. Our officers are professional and they're vigilant. They recognize that at times these things do happen, and they respond in the appropriate fashion.
What stands out when you look at the video to you?
You know, it's a tragedy. That's my friend laying on the ground, someone that I worked with. So it strikes a chord with me as well. But our officers are professional. They're thorough. They were able to complete the investigation in a very excellent fashion as well.
Lessons learned here, Chief, same thing I asked Joe Deters.
The lessons that we always learn from these type of incidents, that in our profession we must be vigilant. We must look after each other. We must also try to operate in a manner that these type of incidents don't happen. If we come across, or we encourage other people that are come across someone like Trey Pierre Hummins who may have some emotional distress, that they get the help that they need so that they don't respond in this fashion as well.
Is it possible, they followed policy, but were there any tactical errors made by anybody at that scene that day?
No, they responded appropriately.
Joe, let me ask you one thing about the mother. And so Trey Pierre goes around her to shoot Officer Kim, and then what happens after that in terms of the mother? And
you'll see, even in the blurred thing, she's on her knees over Sonny, trying to comfort him as he was dying. And that's what happened. She seems to be a pretty good lady with a very bad son. Go ahead.
Was the probation officer shot at you?
Initially, there was some indication of that, but we believe that did not happen. Okay, Minnie, Jenny, can you slow it, or can you stop it in frame? Okay.
Okay, so now Hamilton County Prosecutor Joe Deters is releasing the cruiser cam video to the media. There are two videotapes he's releasing. One is an edited version, a shorter version. The other, that was the version he was about to show on television. The other, a raw tape, non-edited.
Right, and we are not going to show that to you live, of course. We are monitoring the recording at the news conference and the video, and our promise and our responsibility to you is for this video is the same as we bring you every day. We're going to bring you complete coverage of this very important story, while at the same time being mindful of the delicate nature of this case. After we can review the news conference, we will post all the elements which are not graphic on WLWT.com, including the Q&A session with the prosecutor.
So the news conference today with Joe Deters was to release the final report on the death of Sonny Kim. He talked a lot about the mindset of Trey Pierre Hummins at the time. He said he was about to be charged with rape, went to visit his mother, and kind of indicated to his mom everything's going to be okay,
right.
Because in his mind, things were coming to an end.
Well, Joe Deters intimated that he thought that Trey Pierre wanted to lure as many officers as he could to the scene there with the intention of trying to kill them. Joe Deters, again, very outspoken on this case, and called Officer Sandman a hero, said that he deserved an award for the shooting. So that seems to answer the question about whether or not he believed this shooting was justified. Of course, that issue had circulated about during this investigation.
And of course, Officer Sandman, Specialist Sandman, was the officer who arrived immediately and after the call for backup went out. When he arrived, Officer Kim had already been shot. The dash cam being released is Officer Sandman's dash cam cruiser video.
All right, and that is the only one that is available right now. At the beginning of the press conference, Joe Deters said that Officer Kim's dash cam was not operable at the time, was not operating at the time. Let me stress that correctly.
And also he mentioned the bulletproof vest, that he called it, Joe Deters called it a fluke, that Sonny Kim did not survive that shot because of where it went in on the left side of his body, and describing the vest and their ribs being in the vest, and it went exactly where it should not have gone and hit an artery, and he said it was a wound that was not survivable.
All right, we are monitoring the press conference again. Joe Deters is now back at the stand. We also heard from the interim chief, Isaac, talking about losing a friend and how difficult it's been for all the men in blue down at CPD.
We will keep you up to date. We will be back at the top of the hour for WLWT News 5 at noon with more coverage on today's findings. Back to regular programming.